Hey, the FDA might be cracking down on e-cigs and why popping an ibuprofen may hurt your stomach. Tell me about it. Those are just some of our health headlines.
And a doctor is in to help us understand the latest news. Trauma doctor David Gruner is the managing director and co-founder of NYC Surgical Associates. Welcome this morning. Thanks for coming in. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's talk about the FDA and their plans to regulate e-cigarettes for the first time.
One of the problems with e-cigarettes is even though they're avoiding the toxicity of the smoke and tar and things like that, is they still have nicotine, which is very addictive and has a lot of circulatory effects. And one of the things people are seeing is younger children, especially with flavored cigarettes, are using these in increasing numbers.
Why is it taking them so long?
You know, this is America. There's a lot of legislation and laws and things that loopholes they have to jump through.
I was going through and looking at some of this stuff. Certain cigars aren't even regulated. I mean, there's a lot of kind of gray areas when it comes to nicotine substances out there, aren't there?
Absolutely. There's a lot of gray areas, and I think a lot of it has to do with the amount of attention it receives because of population using it. You know, you have to have a significant problem before it starts popping up on radars.
All right.
Let's talk about Camilla, right? Parker Bowles. Now, her brother just lost his life in New York City. He took a fall, and I know you actually experienced with trauma. So how does that really happen? Did he hit his head? Did something happen when he fell?
It's all speculation so far, but that's what people think, you know. Unfortunately, it was reported that he had his hands in his pockets, and because of that, he was unable to prevent himself from hitting the pavement. And, you know, I think sometimes we underestimate how fragile we are, and especially our heads. Traumatic brain injury is a steadily rising cause of death. It's the leading cause of death in anyone from 1 to 44 years of age.
Now, I read also that he was on some type of medication that made him dizzy, possibly. That's another...
Yeah, he was on some blood pressure medication, and by lowering your blood pressure, sometimes that can make you dizzy.
Lightheaded.
Yeah, especially if you're drinking, you know, you're somewhat dehydrated. That doesn't help.
Well, these are, you know, thanks for freaking us out. Are there any ways, I mean, I hate to ask this, are there any ways to prevent injuries like this, and ultimately any ways to really preserve your brain?
You could wear a helmet to a bar.
I mean, you really have to be...
And keep your hands out of your pocket. I mean...
You know, it was just an unfortunate situation. He was unsteady, probably because of some alcohol, maybe dizzy because of his medication.
Yeah.
Just unlucky.
Now, what about this young man who was supposed to be a contestant on the upcoming season of The Bachelorette, and he died after his parachute collapsed?
So I think he was paragliding.
He was paragliding. Yeah.
You know, I actually paraglide too, so I'm going to be more careful. But there's a steady increase of these sort of thrill-seeking sports, but you got to temper that with a modicum of safety, you know. And back to the statistics with regards to brain injury, you know, it's double the incidence in men, and especially younger men. Because of things like this, people are taking more and more risks as time goes on.
You know what I think it is? And I mean, I'm not trying to be glib or crass here, but there are these new, the cameras, you know, that you can actually tape anything that's going on. You have these beautiful images, and I think it inspires people to take chances, and sometimes they're not prepared for the chance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so also there's new evidence that ibuprofen, obviously we all take that often to relieve a headache or some back pain, but now it's really causing some stomach issues and maybe can even cause celiac disease?
That's a speculation, you know. What's the rationale behind it is when you take ibuprofen or non-steroidals that you decrease the barrier of your gut to allergens. So all of these diseases are known to be allergic in nature, and they're kind of basically exposing your body to more allergens and making you more sensitive to things later on in life.
Can you take like an antacid or something with the ibuprofen to somehow buffer the stomach?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because this is basically it's a hormonally and local cell-related response. So I don't think the antacids
so that doesn't help. So
it may help with the ulcer disease.
I've been spending a lot of money popping my Pepsid with my Aleve.
Non-steroidals have a lot of far-reaching effects, and part of it has to do with acids and ulcers. This is a completely different end of the spectrum.
So the trick is just stay young.
Stay young, stay natural.
And get a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Dr. David Gruner, always good to see you.
Thank you.
My neighbor out there.
Pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on the couch.
All right, thanks.